right, so we have one more decrease round to do, but before we do that, we are going to take some time and stuff this because it's going to get too difficult to stuff it once we do the last decrease round. So there are a couple options for stuffing this, and let me zoom out a little bit. There are a couple options for stuffing this. If you want it to be sitting, you would stuff it one way, and if you want it to be laying down, you would stuff it another way. So I've already made this one, who is stuffed so that it would be sitting. And the way you do that is when you're putting the stuffing in, you push it out to the sides like this. So you put the stuffing in, push it out to the sides, and then slowly fill it in from the sides and then into the middle so that the bottom lies flat. Now we're going to make one that is laying down or lying down. And the way we do that is we want this back portion to be the flat part. So what we would do is we would put it in and then push it up and try and leave the back a little bit deflated. So you need your stuffing. And I'm going to stuff the head first. So you just put in the stuffing, and then I kind of put my fingers in and pull it out to the sides, but really focusing on pushing it towards the front, like this, so that the back doesn't have as much as the front. And that's going to make it so that it can lay down. I got some yarn scraps that are going to go in here too. I mean, I still do want to put some stuffing in the back, just not as much as in the front. Okay, so that looks about enough. And as you can see, the back of the head is a little bit more flat than the front. So I'll just push it down a little bit too, so that it, so you can see the head's kind of flat, and that's going to help it lay down. And again, if you're doing the sitting one, you kind of want it to be even all throughout. Whereas this one, it's clearly more flat in the back. All right, now I'm going to stuff the body portion. And, you know, even though you want the back portion to be flat, make sure that you don't understuff it. You still want to get a good amount of stuffing so that it doesn't look like a deflated balloon. All right, so as you can see, the back is kind of flat so that it will lay flat down. And once you're satisfied with the amount of stuffing, we can move on and do our last decrease round. So now we're going to do one last decrease round, and we're going to decrease from 18 stitches down to 12 stitches by decreasing on every multiple of 3. So in this first stitch, we single crochet 1, and then 2 and 3 are decreased together. 4, and then 5 and 6 are decreased together. 7, and then 8 and 9 are decreased together. 10, and then 11 and 12 are decreased together. 13, and then 14 and 15 are decreased together. Oops. 16, and then 17 and 18, oops, are decreased together. So now we're going to cut our yarn and we're going to sew the rest shut. So cut a little bit of a tail so that you can use it to sew the rest shut. And then take your tapestry needle and thread the yarn through your needle. And the way we're going to close the bottom is we are going to sew through the front loop, only the front loop, just the front loop of every stitch. So you just go through the front loop of every stitch like this, and then as you pull it tight, it'll start to close, and it'll create a really nice clean closing. Because if we were to just crochet and decrease until it was closed, it wouldn't look as clean as the sewing helps it look. Then pull it tight, and it's all closed. And then you can weave your yarn tail into your body by going through the body and out in between any stitches. This is important, between the stitches, because if you go through the yarn, then it's gonna not look so good. So just go through and then between the stitches, just to kind of get that yarn tail really worked in there. And once you're confident the yarn tail is not going to come out, you can cut it and then squish it around. You could do one of these. Kind of distribute the stuffing and make sure it's still going to lie nice and flat. And there we go. All done with the body. Alright, so next we're going to crochet his arm, and to do this we are going to need our blue yarn. So we're going to make a magic ring with 6 single crochets. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then we pull it tight. Okay, now we're going to increase from 6 to 12 by increasing in every stitch. So in the first stitch, we single crochet 1, and in the same stitch we increase for 2. In the next stitch, we single crochet for 3, and increase for 4, 5, and increase for 6, 7, and increase for 8, 9, and increase for 10, 11, and increase for 12. So now we have 12 stitches. Next, we're going to do another increase round, and we're going to increase from 12 stitches to 18 stitches by increasing on every multiple of 3. So in the first stitch, we single crochet 1, 2, and in the same stitch, increase for 3, 4, 5, and increase for 6, 7, 8, and increase for 9, 10, 11, and increase for 12, 13, 14, and increase for 15, 16, 17, and increase for 18. So now we have 18 stitches. Next, we're going to do another increase round, and we're going to increase from 18 stitches up to 24 stitches by increasing on every multiple of 4. So in this first stitch, we single crochet 1, 2, 3, and in the same stitch increase for 4, 5, 6, 7, and in the same stitch increase for 8, 9, 10, 11, and increase for 12, 13, 14, 15, and increase for 16, 17, 18, 19, and increase for 20, 21, 22, 23, and increase for 24. Next, we're going to do another increase round, and we're going to increase from 24 stitches up to 30 stitches by increasing on every multiple of 5. So in the first stitch, we single crochet 1, 2, 3, 4, and increase for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and increase for 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and increase for 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and in the same stitch increase for 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and in the same stitch increase for 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, and in the same stitch increase for 30. So now we're done with our increase rounds. Now we're going to single crochet 2 rounds of 30 stitches. So just single crochet 60 stitches. You can put your stitch marker in if you are worried about losing your place. So single crochet continuously around for 2 rounds or for 60 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 58, 59, and 60. So I'm going to take out my stitch marker. All right. So now we're going to do a decrease round, and we're going to decrease from 30 stitches down to 24 stitches. But we're not going to decrease on multiples of 5. We're actually going to decrease on multiples of 3. So the reason why we're doing this is because we want all the decreases to be in one spot. So we don't want them to be evenly distributed. We want the decreases to all be in one spot. So we're going to decrease on every multiple of 3 until we hit 15 stitches, and then after that we're just going to single crochet in every stitch. So in this first stitch we single crochet 1, and then 2 and 3 are decreased together, 4, and then 5 and 6 are decreased together, 7, and then 8 and 9 are decreased together, 10, and then 11 and 12 are decreased together, 13, and then 14 and 15 are decreased together. And as you can see, this is what's happened. This bottom has started to curve in and the top is still straight. So the bottom of his arm is going to be right here. So it's not out like this. This is the bottom right here, and this is the shoulder. So now we're going to finish off the round just single crocheting 1 in every stitch. So we left off at 15. So next is 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30. Now we're going to do another decrease round, and we're going to decrease from 24 stitches down to 18 stitches by decreasing in every stitch for the first 12 stitches. So we're going to do just like we did last time, and half of our round is going to be decreased and the other half is going to be regular single crochets. So this first part, stitches 1 and 2 are decreased together. 3 and 4 are decreased together. 5 and 6 are decreased together. 7 and 8 are decreased together. 9 and 10 are decreased together. And 11 and 12 are decreased together. So now you can really see kind of how it looks like. This bottom part right here is the arm. This right here is the shoulder, so kind of the paw and the shoulder. And now we're going to finish off this round just single crocheting 1 in every stitch. So we finished off, or we just left off at 12. So next is 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and 24. And now we're done. So we're going to slip stitch to finish off. And then I like to pull my yarn tail back through to the inside. Okay. And then what I like to do is I like to take these two little tails and loosely tie them together, just so that it kind of keeps this other tail from coming back to the outside. And now what we're going to do is, as you can see with this paw that I've made right here, he's got his little claws on them, so we need to take our white yarn, and we're just going to thread our tapestry needle with our white yarn. And we're just going to sew on his little claws. He's got 5 of them. So I just like to come in, start from the side, and the way it kind of looks is you've got this bottom part, then this row and this row, these 2 rows where we single crochet 30 continuously. Those are the rows that I like to have the claws span. So I come in like this, and then I span 2 rows, and then come back through. Don't pull it too tightly though, because if you do that, it'll pucker. And then I like to do that, go back through and do that about 3 times, so that it really like kind of gets a good good thickness to it. And then you move on, and we're going to do this for 5 claws. And then once you're done, you just bring your yarn back to the inside like that. And then I like to do that same thing that I did before, and tie my white yarn tails together so that they don't come out. And then I like to take all my yarn tails and just shove them into the bottom. Yep. So now we have our little arms. Next we're going to make his ears, and once again I have made one and I'm going to show you how to make the other one, and you can rewind this video and do it twice. So once again we need to make a magic ring with 6 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And now we're going to do an increase round, and we're going to increase from 6 stitches to 9 stitches by increasing on every multiple of 3. So find your first stitch. Ooh, if I can find my first stitch, it's always kind of hard. All right, got my first stitch, and we single crochet 1, and then in the next stitch is 2, and in the same stitch increase for 3. 4, 5, and increase for 6, 7, 8, and increase for 9. So now we have 9 stitches. Now we're going to do another increase round, and we're going to increase from 9 stitches up to 12 stitches by increasing on every multiple of 4. So in this first stitch, we single crochet 1, 2, 3, and in the same stitch, increase for 4, 5, 6, 7, and increase for 8, 9, 10, 11, and in the same stitch increase for 12. Now we have 12 stitches. And pretty much the way this ear is going to go is we're going to do increase rounds, increasing 3 stitches every round until we have 27 stitches. So that's pretty much how it's going to go. So in the next stitch, we're going to increase from 12 stitches up to 15 stitches by increasing on every multiple of 5. So in the first stitch, we single crochet 1, 2, 3, 4, and in the same stitch, increase for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and in the same stitch, increase for 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and in the same stitch, increase for 15. And now we have 15. In the next round, we're going to increase from 15 stitches up to 18 stitches by increasing on every multiple of 6. So in this first stitch, we single crochet 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and in the same stitch, we increase for 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and in the same stitch, increase for 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and in the same stitch, we increase for 18. In the next round, we're going to increase from 18 stitches up to 21 stitches by increasing on every multiple of 7. So in the first stitch, we single crochet 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and in the same stitch, we increase for 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and in the same stitch, we increase for 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and in the same stitch, we increase for 21. All right, so in the next round, we're going to increase from 21 stitches up to 24 stitches by increasing on every multiple of 8. So in this first stitch, we single crochet 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and increase for 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and increase for 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and in the same stitch increase, oopsies, I just pulled my yarn tail in there. All right, increase for 24. Now we're going to do one last increase round, and we're going to increase from 24 stitches up to 27 stitches by increasing on every multiple of 9. So in this first stitch, we single crochet 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and in the same stitch increase for 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and increase for 18, 19, oopsies, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, and increase for 27. And now we're all done, so you can slip stitch. And I'm going to cut kind of a long tail because I'm going to use this to sew on everything. And if this is your first ear, then rewind this and make your second ear. If not, we can move on. So the last thing we're going to make is his leg, or foot, sorry, his foot. So we need our brown yarn. And once again, we're going to make a magic ring with 6 single crochets. So we single crochet 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now we're going to do an increase round, and we're going to increase from 6 stitches up to 12 stitches by increasing in every stitch. So find your first stitch. And single crochet 1 and increase for 2, 3 and increase for 4, 5 and increase for 6, 7 and increase for 8, 9 and increase for 10, 11 and increase for 12. So now we have 12 stitches. Now we're going to do another increase round, and we're going to increase from 12 stitches up to 18 stitches by increasing on every multiple of 3. So in the first stitch, we single crochet 1, 2, and in the same stitch increase for 3, 4, 5, and in the same stitch increase for 6, 7, 8, and in the same stitch increase for 9, 10, 11, and in the same stitch increase for 12, 13, 14, and in the same stitch increase for 15. And before we move on, I'm going to start incorporating my cream colored yarn because we're about to change yarn colors. So moving on for 16, 17, and in the same stitch increase for 18. But when we increase, we also change to cream, and we just changed to cream. Now we're going to do another increase round, and we're going to increase from 18 stitches up to 24 stitches by increasing on every multiple of 4. So in the first stitch, we single crochet 1, 2, 3, and in the same stitch increase for 4. And I'm going to cut my brown yarn because I don't need it anymore. And moving on for 5, 6, 7, and in the same stitch increase for 8, 9, 10, 11, and in the same stitch increase for 12, 13, 14, 15, and in the same stitch increase for 16, 17, 18, 19, and in the same stitch increase for 20, 21, 22, 23, and in the same stitch increase for 24. So now we're all done with our increase rounds, and now we are going to single crochet 24 stitches for 4 rounds. So we're just going to single crochet continuously around for 4 rounds, or that is 96 stitches. Yes, 96 stitches or 4 rounds. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put one of my yarn tails through so it makes a stitch marker, and I'm just going to single crochet continuously for 4 rounds. $95 and $96. So I've reached the end of my 4 rounds. Now we're going to do a decrease round, and we're going to decrease from 24 stitches down to 18 stitches by decreasing on every multiple of 4. So in the first stitch we single crochet 1, 2, and then 3 and 4 are decreased together. 5, 6, and then 7 and 8 are decreased together. 9, 10, and then 11 and 12 are decreased together. 13, 14, and then 15 and 16 are decreased together. 17, 18, and then 19 and 20 are decreased together. 21, 22, and then 23 and 24 are decreased together. So now we have 18 stitches. Now we're going to do one last decrease round, and we're going to decrease from 18 stitches down to 12 stitches by decreasing on every multiple of 3. So in the first stitch we single crochet 1, and then 2 and 3 are decreased together. 4, and then 5 and 6, 5 and 6 are decreased together. 7, and then 8 and 9 are decreased together. 10, and then 11 and 12 are decreased together. 13, and then 14 and 15 are decreased together. 16, and then 17 and 18 are decreased together. Alright, so now we're done, and we're going to slip stitch to finish off. And I'm also going to cut kind of a long tail for this one so that I could use it to sew everything in place. Pull it through, and then take my leftover yarn tails, like my brown yarn tails, and make sure they're all in there. And once again, we need to sew on some claws. So you're going to need your white yarn. And once again, we're just going to thread our tapestry needle. And this foot only has 3 claws, not 5. So you only have to do 3. And I did mine 1, 2, 3 rows up. So between rows, from the brown part, between rows 3 and 4 are the ones that have the claws. So I'm going to count up 1, 2, and then 3 and 4. Oopsies, I need to come in from the other side, don't I? Yep. And then 3 and 4. Rows 3 and 4 are where I'm sewing the claws. And I'm just going to do the same thing that I did last time and go through 3 times. Okay. So I'm all done with the foot. And I'm going to tie these 2 white yarn tails together so nothing comes loose. And then shove that yarn tail down into the foot. And I need some additional stuffing for the foot, so I'm just going to take some stuffing and stuff the foot the rest of the way. And so the feet are all stuffed now. All right, so now we're ready to assemble. So the first thing I'm going to do is put his ears on, and his ears do require a little bit of stuffing that I need to put in there. But actually, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to partially sew them on and then stuff them. So I'm just going to pin these in place. And you want to make sure that they're kind of like that, not too far back, because if they're too far back, they're going to prevent him from laying down properly. And make sure they're evenly spaced. And now I'm going to take my tapestry needle and thread my needle with this yarn tail. And I'm going to sew the ears on in place, but only partially because they need to be stuffed still. But it's going to be easier to stuff them if they're halfway sewn on. So the way I sew things on is I go down through the stitches and into the body, and then up through the 2 stitches like that, and then over and down 2 stitches and into the body. Now I used to sew this on in the back loop only, but I decided I don't like that anymore, so this is how I'm doing it now. You can sew it whatever way you want. I'm not very good at explaining sewing. Okay, and now I'm going to put some stuffing in here. There we go. And sew it on the rest of the way. Okay, so I'm done with this one ear. Now I'm going to move over to the other side and sew on the other ear. All right, so I got both ears sewed on. And now I'm going to sew on his arms. So I'm going to sew on the kind of the bottom portion of his arms and leave the top open for a little bit so that I could stuff them. So just pin the arms on in place wherever you like them. And you know, if you want to pin everything in place, like the arms, the legs, the ears, and everything, before you start sewing it on, just so that you can see kind of where everything is going to go, that's a good idea. I did that off camera. I just kind of, before I started filming this section, I just kind of held everything up where I thought it was going to go and tested it out. So that would be a good idea too. All right, now I'm going to bring my yarn down to where the arms are. And I'm going to sew on the arms. And these arms are kind of hard to sew on. They're a little bit more difficult than the other pieces. All right, and once it's all sewn on, you just move over to the other side and sew on your other arm. Okay, and once you're comfortable with your arms, you can hide your yarn tail in the body because we're all done with our blue yarn. Okay, and the last thing, well, not the last thing, but one of the last things we need to do is put on his legs. So I'm just going to squish this down a little bit to kind of accommodate his legs a little bit. And then you just pin them in place. And I'm gonna, so they're kind of towards the back like this. Okay, and then once you have everything pinned in place, you can just thread your needle with your cream yarn tail and sew on the legs. And then if you're doing the sitting down version, you just kind of put the legs more towards the front so that it can sit, and that's really the only difference. So there's not much difference between the sitting down and the laying down version, just the position of the legs and the kind of the placement of the stuffing will determine if it's sitting or laying down. And I'm just going to squish him around until I get a good placement for the stuffing. Alright, so the last thing we need to do is sew on his face. So you're going to need your black yarn and your tapestry needle. And we're just going to sew on his face using our black yarn. So thread your yarn through your needle. And then I'm going to start in the back here and kind of work my way up so that I can weave this yarn in to the body just a little bit so that it doesn't come out. I probably didn't need quite that much. So I'm going to work my way over to its base. Here. Okay, so I'm going to do his eyes first. Let's see. Actually, I think I'm going to do his mouth first. Okay. Yes, I'm gonna do his mouth first. Oops. And then I'll do his eyes. Oops. Yeah, so you just crochet or sew on his mouth. So I was sewed on the mouth first so that I could do the eyes relative to the mouth. So for the eyes, I'm just kind of testing. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's do. And there we go. That's pretty much it. So then when you're done with that, you can weave your yarn tails into the body so that they don't, so this face doesn't come off. And then we're going to take our white yarn really quickly and put some teeth on him because he has some little teeth coming out of his mouth. So, alright, so you just take your white yarn and thread your needle with your white yarn and then weave your white yarn in. And then come up to the mouth, and just above the mouth, so the teeth come out of his mouth upwards. So not downwards, upwards. And I'm just going one row up and sewing on his teeth. And then once I've done that, I'm going to weave these yarn tails into the body. So he's got little teeth now. So then you just weave your yarn tails into the body. And then cut your yarn. And that's it, we're all done. Nice, sleeping Snorlax. So if you like this video, please don't forget to hit the thumbs up button and subscribe. If you really like this video, you can head on over to Patreon and support me there. If you want to see what other projects I'm working on and what's coming down the pipeline in terms of tutorials, you can go follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Tumblr, Facebook, all of those places. The links are down in the description below. And I will see you in the next video.